PM.
We are
Morning,
live.
morning.
How are you guys doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. Happy hump day.
Oh, sure
Yeah, happy
is.
hump day, guys.
This week's been going pretty fast.
Feels like it, doesn't it? But is that just our space? It feels like by Wednesday, it almost feels like Friday, right?
Yep.
I've been having to start implementing things to make my days slow down because I feel like the week flies by always.
Yeah.
Clever.
A year in crypto is like 10 years. Time is different.
But also, like,
it really is.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, whoa, we've got a lot of people joining today. That's
awesome.
So exciting. Cool. Okay, so I see there's a ton of people here, so let's get started. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Kenzie, and I'm on the marketing team at dYdX Trading. Today, I'm incredibly excited to be joined by my friend Tristan, head of marketing at dYdX Foundation, and the co-founder of Kado, Vince. Let me pass it over to you, Trist.
Yeah, awesome. Morning, guys, or afternoon, depending where you are in the world, even evening in some places. Really happy to join the call today. Excited to talk through the latest dYdX chain integration, the Kado Fiat on and off ramp, which cuts out centralized exchanges, and we'll dive into that in a minute. But yeah, another integration for dYdX chain users, which is exciting. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it.
Yeah, Vince, before we dive into Kado and all the good stuff, do you want to give us a little intro of yourself, background, and how you came to be in this industry?
Yes, definitely. So first of all, super excited to do this. Really excited to dive into the integration with you guys. I think this is something that we've been ready for a while now, ever since you guys announced the launch of dYdX chain and the vision last year. So I think right around when we launched the integration, you guys also hit number one for V4 being the top DEX volume across the industry. So super exciting to be a part of that as well going into 2024. So quick intro on my side, I'm the co-founder, COO over at Kado. So really leading all of our partnerships, business development, kind of external growth and business relationships. Before getting into this space, I used to work in the loyalty software space, leading business development for a startup in Boston, where actually we were powering some of these really big enterprise consumer loyalty programs. So like Starbucks Rewards, Nike ID, these really big kind of incentive models to some of these really big brands in the world. And then we actually got acquired by MasterCard. So then diving into the traditional payment landscape, leading business development globally for some loyalty and payment products over there was a perfect evolution to just come from the traditional payment world. And then 2020 dove down the crypto rabbit hole, never came out, still going deeper and deeper every day as it goes. And so, yeah, super excited to kind of come from that Web 2 payments world and then Kado building that Web 3 payments infrastructure.
Yeah, so it kind of sounds like maybe your background is what inspired Kado, but tell us the origin story. Where were you? What happened? And how have things progressed since then?
Yes, it's been quite a journey. So we started back in May of 2021, and we were just talking about how crypto, like a year in crypto is 10 years. It feels like it was decades ago since we launched this. And obviously things change quickly in crypto, and there's a big evolution from start to now. So at the high level, coming from that payments infrastructure perspective, Kado's two main pillars really have always been access and utility. So access, streamlining onboarding, letting folks around the world get from A to B directly to and participate in the crypto ecosystem. And then utility being, how can you actually use the tech in the real world? How can you use it to pay bills? How can you actually enhance your life by using blockchain in the back end? So that was kind of like the high level thing that we knew we wanted to focus on, because we knew that we needed more of it in the space. And the ecosystem that we grew and we started in was Terra. So obviously been through a lot over the past couple of years, but Terra back in the day, right, it was really about outward adoption of crypto at the time. And that was really where we started our kind of, edge in the space. So we actually enabled folks to spend, stable coins directly from their self-custody wallet on Amazon. On the back end, we would handle all the payment processing, so you could receive the goods to your house the next day. that was a really cool kind of like, utility side of things to spend crypto in the real world. But we realized that access was so much of a greater demand, so much of a bigger problem to solve from that 0 to 1 step, right? We still need better on ramps. We still need to enable users to get on chain in a much more seamless way. And that's where kind of utility will come after the access piece. So we became kind of the go-to on ramp for all of Terra, and got our training wheels out from under us very quickly. We're doing about millions of volumes per day, really coming out of the gate there. And it was super exciting to really understand what our edge was in the payment space and on and off ramp space. And at the end of the day, that's really just being super Web3 native at heart at a team. So the user experience should be super easy for someone that's a normie, that's not a crypto native. But as a team, we are trying to be always in the front lines of these ecosystems, really deep in the weeds with these, crypto teams where we're opening on new flows. We're really pushing on ways that we can really align with these ecosystems a lot stronger than some of the other kind of earlier, on-ramps in the space. So coming from, Terra, everything that happened there, right? We all know Steady Lads and the, the ups and downs of that ecosystem. We were never all eggs in that basket, thank God. So we were always ready for that multi-chain push. We were already starting to support Solana before that stuff went down. But actually, the cool stuff that we were doing with Terra, we were actually talking to Osmosis about in the early days, was connecting to IBC directly from fiat transactions, right? So that's where it kind of gets interesting for the dYdX integration, thinking about how we actually even got to this place where we were going to be able to send, UST directly to your Osmosis wallet, right? So the plan was to, with UST being the main stablecoin in Cosmos, connecting fiat directly to smart contracts to streamline onboarding directly to all of these different app chains, where typically folks would have to take many steps to get onboarded to these end destinations, right? You'd have to go through a centralized exchange like Coinbase or Binance. You'd have to actually wait multiple days to withdraw from the exchange to your self-custody wallet. There's a lot of trading fees involved, withdrawal fees, so many steps, right? And then you go to your wallet, you got to figure out how to IBC and swap. Every single step that you require a user to take to get to that end destination, they're going to drop off, and the conversion is going to be super low. So that's where connecting fiat directly to smart contracts, especially to IBC in the Cosmos ecosystem, that's where it gets really exciting for us, because we're skipping all those steps in the middle. We're getting users from A to B in as fast and as cheap as possible. So it's great on the user side. It's also great on the actual platform side, because middle fees are reduced. It's actually driving on-chain volume for the ecosystem, and it's really using the tech the way it should be for on-chain settlement. So that's where we've really pushed over the past year, is connecting directly to smart contracts. We're supporting about 16 to 17 Cosmos app chains today, as well as Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, Layer 2s, Stellar. We're really pushing out into obviously just every single crypto ecosystem right now, and that's what's been super exciting.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, let's dive a little bit more then into the integration with the dYdX chain. So, Vince, can you provide a few more details about the integration, and was there any technical challenges? I mean, you mentioned that you've been connected with the Cosmos ecosystem, but was there anything different with the dYdX chain?
Yeah, so this was one of those really cool use cases for us, where we were able to turn this on really quickly because of some of these back-end pieces that were set up. So typically, to get connected into these fiat payment systems, you have to go through all these different custodians and someone like Fireblocks and these banking partners to get the blockchain integrated into all the different fiat systems, which takes a long time. It takes a lot of fees. There's a long process to do that. Because dYdX is its own specific blockchain, that's where Kado connecting directly to these smart contracts to get users directly to dYdX chain was pretty unique for us. So the big thing for us to get this integration live was connecting to Noble for Noble USDC direct connections, and then Squid Router. So we use Squid Router to basically come from EVM directly to dYdX, and then Squid handles that flow in the back end. So it's all about, what do we support within our current banking partner stack, and then how can we get to these other, ecosystems through something like Squid and Noble. So that was the big win there for us to be able to streamline that whole process with Squid and Noble. We're super big fans of those guys. So obviously you guys had a really big part of that as well, connecting all the dots, getting everything ready to go for go live. The only thing for us that we have to wait on is getting ready for mainnet to launch, to then be able to work on the integration. So that's the only kind of challenge. I wouldn't even call it a challenge, right? But it's just the thing that we have to wait on to be able to turn that stuff on. But we obviously were ready to hit the gas pedal super quickly, and it's all flowing, it's working, and we've got users using it, so it's great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I have a question based off what you just said. So, totally correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like you were saying that with the banks that you have now, the situation is you have to buy like EVM compatible USDC, and then you go through Squid Router to buy Noble USDC. Is there no way to, or Noble Cosmos USDC? There's no way to go like directly to Cosmos USDC right now because of
So
banks.
that is actually, yeah, so that's kind of like the evolution of it, right? So that'll be something that we'll hopefully get ready in like the next month or two, to just skip that, EVM to Cosmos, go directly to Noble out of the bank, where, that's again, because Noble needs to then get integrated into Fireblocks, into some of these other custodian pieces for that connection to happen. So that's why, again, leaning into these smart contract flows with something like Squid and Noble is a great solution to skip that friction point, and then it'll just only get enhanced as some of those pieces come together.
Okay, cool. That team is so on it, so I'm sure we'll have that in no time.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then I have a question. So it seems like you guys kind of already have this stack built in the back end that maybe makes it pretty easy to onboard new projects to Kado. So how does, like, if somebody launched their own chain, how would they go about integrating Kado onto their app?
Yeah. So if you are on a blockchain that basically, for example, if you're a builder that's building an application that's already on a blockchain that Kado supports, it's super lightweight. We have a couple of different integration options so that folks can onboard directly to your application itself, right? We don't want to have to pull users off of your application to come to our application to then go through that onboarding process, right? It's all about how many little friction points we can have for the user to get to that end destination. So we have an easy kind of integration, what we call a widget integration, and then there's more of a streamlined API integration where we're much more deeper in the background of that flow. So the widget, right, you click on it, you click deposit, it already pulls up the blockchain that you're trying to onboard, the wallet that's already connected, and then it's just a one-click experience right there. And then from an integrator perspective, that takes 30 minutes to an hour to integrate, right? It's super lightweight to get that widget on there. And then the API, again, that's kind of the next evolution of the integration, where we're completely in the background. You're building that onboarding experience in your UI, UX, in your branding. You're using us as just backend payment rails, and the users are almost hidden to the fact that they're using Kado there. So those are the two different kind of integration options that we do with all these different application teams and wallets and marketplaces. And then obviously, if you have a blockchain that you want to get Kado to support that's not already supported, we have a super great quick process that we can do, and obviously I'm the one that you want to talk to go through that process. So Kado Vince on Twitter, Kado Vince on Telegram, and hit me up if you want to get us supported.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Love it. Now, Vince, just on that note then, when could dYdX chain users potentially expect to see the widget on the front end user interface?
Yeah, it's a great question. I was just kind of chatting with you guys before this call. I mean, that's really the next thing that we're going to push on as a partnership is, we wanted to get this stuff live. We wanted folks to be able to turn it on as, again, you guys are getting tons of volume, a lot of traction. We want to open up the gateway for all the users to come in. And then now it's about integrating it into the dYdX kind of experience so that traders and folks that are just used to using that dYdX flow, we want to meet them where they are at that end destination, right? So that should hopefully be something that we see here in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Really nice. And then something you mentioned before around cutting out sexes from the equation. So obviously it's the no custody issues, should be cheaper, quicker transaction speed. What's really the main benefit from not having to leverage sexes for on and off ramp?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things, right? From a user perspective, the big thing is security and understanding, keep not your keys, not your coins, right? Like that's the typical phrase that a lot of folks heard coming into crypto, and it still is super, super valid. After the past cycle, we saw things like FTX and Celsius and these platforms that you trusted at the time, and a lot of folks got hurt through that process. So really, if you think about how folks have onboarded into the blockchain ecosystems ever since it really started, it has traditionally mostly been through these centralized exchanges. And it's almost a big risk to the ecosystem when that's the only flow that folks are using to get on and off boarded, because again, there are these there are these time delays as well when you're using these platforms. So even if you are trying to use it to get in and out of your self-custody wallets and just using that centralized exchange as a middleman, there still are times where you're at risk, where maybe they halt trading, maybe they halt withdrawals, maybe, again, worst case scenario, something like FTX happens. And even if you were trying to be safe, you still got completely hurt there. There needs to be streamlined direct flows to move between your bank and self-custody. And that's something that, again, from our upbringing, coming from something like Terra, right, we were able to completely navigate through that chaotic process because we weren't holding customer funds at any part of that flow, right? So that's where a lot of other platforms that were trying to do some of that stuff, again, completely gone. So that's where, from a user perspective, making it cheaper, making it easier, less steps, direct to self-custody, removing that friction point. But also, if you think about from a partner perspective, right, we are partnering with all these different on-chain applications and blockchains and wallets that they don't want to have to require their users to go through these centralized exchange steps, right? Again, it's all about like conversion to your application that you're building. You want to partner with someone like Kado that we're directly incentivized to get users to your application as fast and as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas centralized exchanges, it's the complete opposite incentive, where they want to stop you from getting off the exchange. They want to keep you there because they make money off of your trading, right? So there's a big thing that, from a partner perspective, and that's where we think that the industry is going to continue to go, and we're just going to ride the coattails.
And just one quick note on that. I did go through the process before. It's pretty quick, right? It's only a couple of minutes as an end-to-end flow. Is that about the average time for on and off ramping?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of the big things that we really measure too, is like time to wallet, to really make sure that we're getting users from A to B as fast as possible. So really, it's on average around 2 to 3 minutes. End to end.
Nice.
If you already KYC'd, right? Some folks have to KYC. It's a one-time process, typically instant verification there. We have a really strong customer support team that's always managing any kind of edge case that happens. But once you're KYC'd, you're done, into the future, and then it's literally a one-click experience a lot of the time. And then that time to wallet even gets enhanced there around under 2 minutes.
Nice.
That's sick. That's great. I feel like, yeah, good luck with this question, but how does Kado navigate all the complexities of regulatory compliance, especially in this onboarding space? And I feel like you guys are kind of at a tricky point in the industry.
Yep. Again, you're definitely hitting the nail on the head. That's one of the necessary evils of kind of being in the payments infrastructure world, where you're connecting to the traditional banking ecosystem. You have to follow the rules. You have to go through the regulatory kind of hurdles there, and that's part of our edge as well, because a lot of folks don't want to go through that process, right? And that's not the easy path to go down. Whereas we feel very confident in like our traditional legal backing, our legal team, our legal advisors, our payment and banking experience from the team, but also, again, being super in the weeds, super Web3 native. I think it's a tough combination to get when it comes to kind of a payments team. And also, so we think about it from like a US and international perspective. So we have Kado US, right? We work with traditional banking partners here in the States that have their custodian licenses, their trust licenses, they're kind of that gold standard of payments, processors here in the United States that are, their full goal is to continue to talk to regulators, stay on the front lines of how things are changing, and we kind of ride that relationship as well. And then in the international side, so over the past year, we actually have solidified our own European VASP license, so virtual asset service provider license, in a country called San Marino in Little Italy, kind of landlocked over there. And it's a really great process where we're getting access to a lot of these global payment rails through that license, and continue to kind of work with local regulators on the international side as well as in the US. So again, it is kind of one of those moving pieces, but it's not something that we're doing alone, right? Even though we have great legal team, great advisors, great security team, we're also working with some of the biggest platforms in the world, right? So we work with checkout.com on the payment processing side. They have a huge legal compliance part of that flow. We have Circle Ventures, in the US that invested in Kado, and Circle is obviously really, really close with the regulatory framework here in the US on that side, and continue to just work with some of the best kind of banking partners across these different regions too. So yeah, it's part of the process, but it's a fun one, and it's always changing.
That's cool. I'm glad you
Great answer.
fun. Yeah, just on that note, what are I mean, don't list them all out, but like, are there limitations in terms of countries that can participate and use Kado? And what are there any kind of like limitations on how much you can on ramp or off ramp per day?
Yes, yes. So at a high level, the country support is really limited to, we can't touch like the OFAC sanctioned countries, something like Russia or China, North Korea, right? Those are things that are kind of, off limits to the banking world. And that's something that we're cut off from today. Always working on different solutions to work with different providers that have access to maybe some countries in Africa that we might not have direct access to. So that's part of the big process, as an on and off ramp as well, is connecting to all these different local payment rails around the world. And that's something that we've got like 8 to 9 different payment methods live today across ACH bank transfers here in the United States. We have SEPA bank transfers in Europe. We have PIX in Brazil. We have credit debit cards, Visa and MasterCard across 150 plus countries. We have wire transfers, and then we have many, many more that we're planning to launch across Latin America, India, South Korea, and more. So that's a big focus on the payment method side, and then also on like the limit side. So yes, that's part of the on and off ramp world as well. When it comes to instant settlement to self custody, protecting against fraud and kind of managing that process is a really big part of what happens on the back end. Because there are cases where Kenzie can buy $1,000 to her dYdX wallet, and then she tells her bank, "Hey, I didn't make that transaction. We can't get that money back from your wallet, right? Your coins, your keys." So that's the big thing that we have going on, where we have some of these best of class fraud providers, third-party fraud providers that we have in the back end constantly running to match the payment method, matches the ID, some of those things, and then our own proprietary system as well. So basically at a high level, the limits basically depend on the payment method too. So using credit debit cards, you can get up to 2,500 to 5K to 10K. Sometimes you might need to upload like a bank statement to just immediately increase your limit to that higher amount to, again, just prove that you are who you are. The bank transfer side can get up to around 3K to 5K again. And then wire transfers directly to stable coins, that's where you can get up to 25K, 50K. We have also OTC desk availability, where if you want to get $1 million, 10 million, right? So the limits really scale just depending on what you're looking to use.
That's cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool. Just kind of dialing in on something you mentioned before, you deal with a lot of TradFi or traditional banks or banking clients. Is there any benefits you've seen from dealing with them that DeFi or crypto in general could leverage, or is it vice versa? There's slow processes, difficult to deal with, and they need to move a bit faster and learn from us?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. I think that's the easy answer as well. But also, if you think about it's interesting because we, on one side, where we partner with all these super fast moving teams that are building in crypto, and then on the other side, we're partnering with these banking institutions where it's the complete opposite of the spectrum, right? They got to move slow. They got to get compliance checks. They got to make sure that everything's above board. And that's also really great too. Like, there needs to kind of be a balance. In crypto, things move very, very fast. They want to move fast and break things. But sometimes, again, we've seen with Terra or FTX, you move too fast, you cut corners, it hurts everyone in the long run. So there are things to learn from. There's a reason why these banks need to move slow, right? It's not like they want to move slow. It's because they have to. And there are certain reasons why things have been in place, from past banking collapses, past bad things in the traditional finance system. History rhymes, right? Like, we don't want to recreate every single financial collapse that we didn't learn from in the traditional system. There are things to learn from that. Kind of move slow, be methodical, go move fast when you can. But on the other side, right, obviously we get frustrated when the bank's not giving us what we want immediately when we want it, right? There's always things that we want to happen faster too. So it's totally kind of like a blend there.
Awesome. And then just moving on a little bit, you mentioned there's strong adoption of the solution right now for dYdX chain users. So since integration, what trends have you observed in terms of adoption, transaction volumes, or what insights can you give us?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're still like about just a week in from the integration going live. What I can say is it's definitely been seeing a lot of excitement in the community, seeing flows coming in from folks around the world. It's at a high level. We're going to start to look at, how those volumes look kind of month over month with you guys to continue to improve it. And I think getting these direct integrations into the dYdX flow itself, that's really going to turn things another notch here as well in the next couple of weeks. So at a high level, right? Kado onboards around like 500K to a million to Cosmos to these kind of app chain ecosystems, where again, that's just like fresh net new capital coming from fiat directly to self custody, servicing these power users that are using these on chain applications and not speculating on a centralized exchange just to trade and make money, right? These are really a different subset of users that we're really servicing and trying to, again, continue to drive more power users from someone that's just speculating on a centralized exchange to moving from your bank directly to these on-chain applications to use what's being built. So we expect, 2 to 4x some of those volumes that I mentioned month over month here for the next 1 to 2 months as we get things going with you guys.
Awesome.
This is not really that relevant for dYdX chain, but can you onboard to other cryptos from Kado, or is it only USDC?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we support like 20 to 25 different assets today
Cool.
on the platform. So obviously, like Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum, those traditional assets. We actually have some pretty cool stuff that we do because again, when we talk about like fiat to smart contracts, it's not just to USDC and IBC bridging. It's actually we can swap into any token on Osmosis, for example, right? So when you buy Osmo token to your Osmo wallet, to your Osmosis wallet, it's actually sending USDC to Osmosis and swapping on the DEX itself to
Cool.
then get you Osmosis from Osmosis, right? So for another example, Stargaze, the NFT blockchain in Cosmos, we send USDC, swap for stars on Osmosis, and then we send that over IBC to the end Stargaze wallet so that users, again, they just have this direct onboard experience and we're leveraging on-chain settlement in the back end. So one of the cool things that we're pushing on now, not only being in Cosmos, getting a lot of relationships and pushing into Solana right now, where a lot of exciting stuff is happening too. We're pushing on what we're calling like a Jupiter router, right? So sending USDC
Nice.
to Jupiter on the back end, swapping into something like Bonk so that users can buy all these on-chain SPL tokens. There's going to be a lot more that are coming this year. And those are some of the kind of cool, unique stuff that we do for like to support tokens that aren't traditionally supported within the custodians.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's really exciting. So I think we're coming up on time. So I just wanted to ask you one more question, a little bit of a non sequitur, but what advice would you give to any aspiring entrepreneurs looking to start their own project in the blockchain and or DeFi space?
Yeah, so a couple different things. If you don't have an idea already, just get involved, right? Like, don't wait. We started a hackathon. That's one of the best ways to get involved. You meet builders, you meet investors, you kind of shape your vision. You get put together with other really great talent. Get involved in these online communities. Some of the best, hires or teams that kind of come together are some of these folks that are on Twitter, on Discord, or Telegram. So again, get involved. Don't wait. But also, if you already have your vision, you got to be able to kind of be really nimble, light on your feet, have conviction, move fast, but kind of understand where the puck is going and don't get too high and don't get too low, right? Like this industry is super, super volatile. If you get too high on the highs and then the lows are going to really crush you mentally, vice versa. It's really about like focusing what's within your control, right? There are so many things in this industry that are outside of your control when it comes to regulation, the market swings, XYZ, you name it. If you focus on what's within your control and stay light on your feet, you never know what's going to come around the corner, good or bad. That's kind of how you have to, handle yourself in crypto to continue to navigate and thrive.
I love that advice.
Great advice.
Yeah. The keep a cool head is a good advice, especially as, maybe markets go up or down. It's hard not to get too excited or get too down on yourself. So I think that's a great piece of advice.
Awesome
Easier
advice,
said than
man.
done sometimes.
Oh my God, yeah. I've cried before for sure. Actually, I'm not sure if I have, but felt like it at least. Well, Vince, thank you so much for joining. This was really exciting. A lot of good information. I think this integration is really cool. It's definitely going to help a ton of dYdX chain users. And just loved hearing what you had to say about it. Tristan, as always, thank you for being here. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much, Vince.
Yeah, this was great. Appreciate you guys letting me do this.
Yeah, of course. Okay, we'll talk to you guys later.